Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. The Seahawks are about 25 hours away from, I think, a very interesting and unique challenge that is going to teach us a lot. The Seattle Seahawks are about 25 hours away from going on the road into Cincinnati to play the Bengals. And I'm going to say this right now, just up front. If the Seahawks lose this game, I'm not going to be too discouraged. I'm not going to be too upset. There will always be some level of disappointment, but I believe that not only the matchup, but the circumstances of this matchup make this a tough game to win. I have a lot of respect for that Bengals team, even though they got off to a bad start. I'm throwing pretty much all of that bad start out. I don't think that's indicative of who they are at all. But if the Seahawks can find a way to win tomorrow morning, if the Seahawks win this game, then I will raise my expectations and I will raise the ceiling of this team a lot. Because the way in which this team is going to win this game, if they do, is going to prove something to a lot of people, especially myself. If they can find a way to win this game, overcome the things that the Bengals do so well, that will tell me that they're ready. That will indicate to me that we have done the things that we need to do to take that next step to being an elite team, a truly elite team. And honestly, you look around the NFL right now, there aren't a lot of juggernauts. There are a couple of them, right? But there's a big drop off to that second tier. I was talking about this with the Hawks Nest on stream last night. After those 3, maybe 4 teams at the top, it feels like it's a free-for-all. And any team could pretty much step up and say, hey, we're the 5th best team. We're the 6th best team. And if the Seahawks find a way to win tomorrow morning, I'm going to believe that they are the team that is stepping up for now. They are the team that is ascending up to that point where they are on the cusp of being truly elite. Because for the Seahawks to win this game, they're going to need to execute a very specific type of game plan, most notably on defense, tailor-made to beat the Cincinnati Bengals. So if we can win this game, then I'm going to start believing that something special could happen this year. So for me personally, a lot on the line. So this Bengals team, let's start with their offense because that's the side of the ball that really matters with this team. They started out bad. They've been bad for about a month. I'm throwing it out. I don't think it means anything. I don't look at them scoring 3 points on the Titans or, 3 points on the Browns. And I'm looking at all that and I'm going, okay, that's interesting. Technically it happened. But I'm not ascribing any meaning to it at this point because I watched a lot of that Bengals-Cardinals game last week and Joe Burrow looks back. He looks 100% or so close to 100%, the naked eye can't tell the difference. He was moving around in the pocket. He looked comfortable back there. He was able to make throws down the field. He was able to push the ball down the field. He looked like Joe Burrow, and the Bengals looked like the Joe Burrow Bengals again, to no one's shock. So Joe Burrow is back, in my estimation. And if he's back, then this team is back because the Bengals they are the Burrow Bengals. They go as he goes. And you go back and watch that week 3 game when the Bengals played the Rams, and they did win. But you watch the way Joe Burrow played in that game. Everything was just hit my back foot, get the ball out. Hit my back foot, get the ball out. 4-yard pass, 3-yard pass, screen pass, 6-yard pass. No air yards whatsoever. Dink and dunk. Joe Burrow played like Ryan Fitzpatrick in that game. Honestly, as a fan of Joe Burrow, it was a little bit depressing to watch. He didn't look anything like that against the Cardinals, so as near as I can tell, he is back. So we are going to be dealing with a Joe Burrow that is able to threaten you down the field. He's able to move around and buy time in the pocket, evade sacks, escape sacks, and with that comes all the great things this Bengals offense can do with the best receiver core in the league. Now, we don't know if they're going to have T. Higgins yet or not. he practiced a decent amount this week. He's got a chance. I don't know. I kind of expect him to play, but we'll know more hopefully later today on his actual status. Obviously, if he does play, he's not going to be at a full 100%, but even if T. Higgins is somewhat less than 100%, that is still a deadly receiver room with Jamar Chase, who is got to be a top 3 receiver in the NFL, pretty much unquestionably. And then you've got Tyler Boyd. I even like their depth. I even like the future of their depth. So you've got Joe Burrow distributing the ball around to his elite receiver core, and from there the Bengals offense goes. With the injury in his rear view mirror, assuming that it actually is, he's free to be what he is, which is the best anticipatory thrower in the NFL. No one in the NFL right now is better at leading receivers. No one's better at throwing receivers open. No one is better at anticipating what the defense is going to do and throwing a ball with that plan in mind. There is no quarterback out there who is better at running the offense as a point guard compared to Joe Burrow. He is the best at it. And combined with that receiver core that is absolutely deadly, that makes for a potentially long game for any defense, even an elite defense. Joe Burrow, fully capable of picking them apart. And that's where this game comes back to me. The Bengals, they don't really use their tight ends very much. Their tight ends maybe catch 1 or 2 passes a game, but Bengals tight ends don't really catch it that much. Their running backs, they don't run the ball hardly ever. They run the ball as it's like spotting a unicorn to find the Bengals running the ball. They just don't use it that often. And they're not very good at it even when they do it. Joe Mixon's not playing that well this year, but they just don't run the ball that much. And by the way, they didn't even run the ball when Joe Burrow was hurt. When you think they actually need to run it, they were still like, nah, we're not going to do that. So they're not going to run the ball that much. Their offensive line is just okay overall. It's probably a little below average league-wide. I honestly think our offensive line, even without Abe Lucas, is just as good, maybe a little bit better. So there's really not much else to say about this Bengals offense than that, but that is so incredibly powerful, and this is why I think this game means so much as a observer trying to figure out what this team is. Joe Burrow is not going to take shots when he doesn't need to. There are quarterbacks out there who will take shots when they don't need to and get in trouble for it. Like Josh Allen, like Russell Wilson. Just these quarterbacks who have this undying itch to push the ball down the field, wing it into double coverage from time to time. You even see it a little bit from Pat Mahomes, who is probably the best quarterback in the league. Even he will occasionally decide, I'm going to Brett Favre this. Joe Burrow doesn't do that. He will happily take those 7-yard easy free completions all game long if you allow it. So if the Seahawks go into this game playing soft, easy to figure out zones, if they go into this game and play everything super easy to figure out, easy to diagnose pre-snap, Joe Burrow is going to light us up 10 yards at a time. Quick pass, easy pass, wide open. He will do that. So you are going to have to play different kinds of defense in order to prevent that from happening. It's not him. It's not going to be him. He's not going to be the guy who goes, I'm going to wing it up into triple coverage here 50 yards down the field because I just got to do it. I got to get my Rex Grossman on. No, he's not going to do that. You're going to have to force him to do it because you played aggressively on defense. You played tight man coverage. You challenged their receivers. You challenged the short stuff. You tried to take away the short and intermediate stuff. And Burrow doesn't have a bad arm, but he doesn't really have a great arm. I don't even know if he has a good arm. His arm, as far as NFL quarterbacks go, in terms of the ability to get the ball deep down the field, is probably about average. There are plenty of quarterbacks out there that have more arm talent than Burrow. Burrow thrives on rhythm and timing and reading a defense pre-snap and post-snap and diagnosing where he needs to go based on the information he gets. So if you do not throw exotic defenses at him, if you don't throw some intriguing blitzes at him, if you do not mix things up significantly on your defense and try to take away the easy stuff, I have every reason to believe he's just going to pick you apart. Even the injured Joe Burrow was able to do that with some degree of success against the Rams. You go back and watch that game, that's literally all he did because that's all he could do. And it wasn't great, but it got the job done. So that's injured Joe Burrow. Healthy Joe Burrow, he'll do that all day long. So that to me is the big challenge here. That is what I'm watching this game really to figure out. Can Pete Carroll look at this and go, this is the matchup where I just have to play aggressively on defense? If I sit back in soft zone, if I make everything easy, he will take easy. And I'm going to give up 12 play drives all day long. I'm going to give up 80-yard drives all day long. And my offense is hardly ever going to get on the field because the Bengals are always going to have the ball. If the Seahawks can do that, then I will believe they are ready. They are actually ready to seize control of being an upper echelon team in the NFL, being a truly elite team in the NFL. If they can do that, then I believe they're a top 5 squad. If they don't, they can still be good. They can still do some things the right way. They can still be a playoff team, a winning team, all that stuff. But I'm going to question their ability to make that final step because the coaches are not yet ready to utilize what we have. What we have is a defense loaded with players who are meant to play aggressively, meant to play man. Witherspoon, Woolen, Adams, Love, Brooks. Brooks is meant to blitz. But you got to utilize them that way. And if we don't, then we're going to lose. Seahawks offense against the Bengals defense is a good deal simpler, I would say. The Bengals so far have been really bad against the run. Now, I think that's a little inflated. The Bengals have played Lamar Jackson. The Bengals have played the Browns with Nick Chubb. And you could even throw Deshaun Watson in there maybe a little bit, even though he can't really run the way he used to. But they're giving up like 5.5 yards a carry this year almost. The Cardinals ran on them successfully. Now, the runs that the Bengals have given up this year have not really been like, 6 yards, 6 yards, 6 yards, 6 yards. It's more like they stop the run pretty well for a little while, and then boom, they get hit for a big play. Like that Cardinals game, if you watch that, they ran a lot of misdirection stuff where they would have a guy in Wildcat pretend to hand it off and then go the other way, and the whole defense gets sucked to the other side of the field. Stuff like that. Stuff that is more like misdirection and trickery rather than just mano a mano. I don't necessarily believe the Seahawks can run for 6 yards a carry, just pounding it up A gap and B gap. I don't think the Bengals defense is bad in that way. So I'm not looking to necessarily completely abandon the tenets of the Seahawks offense, which is we want to throw the ball. This is a team built to throw the ball. We have our left tackle back, Charles Cross, and he's got his hands full this week, by the way. He's going up against Hendrickson, and Hendrickson has had an incredible start to the season. So Cross, hope you're actually 100%. You're going to need to be 100% to handle that. But I don't want to get too far away from what we are. We are a team that throws the ball. We have a good quarterback. We have great receivers. Maybe other than the Bengals, the best receivers in football. Maybe. We'll have to see how JSN comes along. Going to take a little bit of time there, but theoretically, we are right up there with any other non-Cincinnati team, I think. You've got a team with an offensive line that is built to pass block. You've got these 3 tight ends that are all productive members of the passing offense, even though they block well too, don't get me wrong. But I would like to see us try to run the ball on this Bengals team. We've got 2 running backs that are killing it this year in K9 and Charbonnet. Both guys have been pretty dang awesome so far this year. So I'm definitely looking to feed those 2 guys the ball and see if they can continue to work against this Bengals defense that has struggled. Now, I'm not expecting us to be able to just ride the rushing attack to a win. You usually don't see that in the modern NFL. Pretty rare that you see any team just able to pound the ball out and win a game. So you got to challenge that Bengals secondary that might be down Awuzie, and even if they're not down Awuzie, it's not a great secondary. They lost maybe the best player on their defense from last year. In fact, I'd say definitely in Bates. So run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, pull that 8th defender up into the box. Trust that their replacement free safety, Hill, I think it's Dax Hill, the Michigan guy, can't do what Bates did for you over the last several years, where he was just maybe the best free safety in football, and then beat him over the top. It's like the old Russell Wilson offense. Remember that old Wilson offense? You run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, and then hit him with play action over the top. We might need to see some of that this week, because our receivers against their defensive backs should be no contest. Metcalf, Lockett, and JSN should have a day. Our tight ends against their defense should also have a pretty good day, although they do have one of the elite coverage linebackers in the league in Pratt. I will say that. So maybe this is the game where you start to get away a little bit from the 2 tight end sets and start going to the 3 receiver sets. Get their weaker defenders on the field. Get Mike Hilton, who has not been good so far this year, on the field. Mike Hilton's been actually a little bit of a disaster. Force him on the field by going 3 receivers. Their safeties have not been great this year after having some excellent safety play over the last several years. Force them onto the field. Force them to make plays down the field, because you're challenging them by feeding the ball in the deep zones, which is something we haven't done a lot of yet this year, but this seems to me like a game where it's time to whip it out a little bit. So, interested to see what we do on the offensive line. Are we going to bump Haynes over to the right side and then play, or left side and then play Bradford? Are we going to bump over Brown and play Olu? What about Ben Brown? Is he going to get involved? I don't know. I don't know what we're going to do up front there. The Bengals have a pretty nice edge combo, but overall their defensive line is just kind of overall average. They've got one superstar right now in Hendrickson, the way he's playing, but overall it's just kind of an average defensive line. Even without Abe Lucas and Damian Lewis, I think our offensive line is up to the challenge. I trust Waldron to recognize what isn't working. I trust Waldron to recognize if Curhan's getting beat up, he needs to get helped. If Ben Brown is in there and he's getting beat up, you either need to pull him or he needs help. So I'm not too worried about any of that. I think we'll be able to protect Geno fine. And Geno's doing a good job playing in such a way that allows him to be protected by protecting himself sometimes. So I feel pretty good about this offense's ability to put up some points. I feel pretty good about our offense's ability to remain balanced. But here's the thing. The Bengals need this game way more than the Seahawks do. The Bengals are about to go on a brutal stretch on their schedule. They're at home. And I just need to see it to believe it from this defense overall. So until I see it, I'm going to go with Seahawks 27, Bengals 30. Very close game, but the Bengals win. But I think the opportunity's there for us. I think we can score. I think our offense is going to have a good game on this Bengals team. It is on the road. That does raise some complications for sure. But I think this offense will be good, and I think this offense will give us a chance. And if we play the right way on defense, we trust Woolen and we trust Witherspoon to hold up in coverage. We trust Julian Love to hold up. We trust Trey Brown as much as he needs to be trusted. And we actually throw some creative stuff at this Bengals offense. We don't let Burrow have everything easy. We don't let Burrow just make easy reads pre-snap to pick apart our defense. Then you can win. Maybe you even go to a system where you have Witherspoon following Jamar Chase around. Maybe you do something like that. If we do something like that, then that's a wrinkle that people don't see from the Seahawks usually ever. When was the last time we had a cornerback follow a receiver around? It almost never happens, ever. That would be something that would throw Joe Burrow for a loop, maybe. You do stuff like that, you have a chance to win this game. And if you do stuff like that and you show the flexibility to abandon the tenets of your team temporarily because the matchup demands it, then I'm going to start believing that this team could actually have a deep playoff run. But I got to see it first. I didn't see it in week 1. I'm seeing it a little bit more with each week that goes by. But we got to take the training wheels off here. And I'm just not completely believing that we're going to. But I think the opportunity is in front of us. All right, that's what I got. So we'll see what happens. I will see you guys later today for the Huskies stream against the Ducks. And then I'll see you guys tomorrow after this game. There might be one more pregame video in case we get any relevant news. But that, to me, is what's on the table here. You slow up this Bengals offense enough to win this game. even if we lose, even if the offense no-shows, obviously that would be really disappointing. But if the defense slows up the Bengals offense, then that could be a light bulb moment where we just go, oh, I think we just figured something out here. Hope we can stick to it. If we stick to it, wow. So let's have that light bulb moment, guys. Let's blitz. Let's be aggressive. And we can win. All right. See you guys later. Go Hawks. Big one. Big one coming up tomorrow morning.